Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello students, welcome to this lecture. In the previous lecture, we are discussing vibrational spectroscopy in polyatomic system. We saw that since polyatomic systems have many degrees of freedom, it was not possible to solve that problem in terms of the regular internal coordinates. So, therefore, we transformed our internal coordinates to normal modes, and the advantage of this normal modes is that if a molecule has 3 n minus 6 of degrees of freedom and we are expressing it in terms of 3 n minus 6 number of normal modes, the solution becomes independent of each other. So, that means we can treat one normal mode at a time. So, therefore, instead of solving a higher problem of 3 n minus 6 magnitude, we are solving 3 n minus 6 number of one dimensional problems. So, that becomes much simpler, and we would continue our discussion from there, and we see that how we can derive selection rules when we go from one vibrational state to another vibrational state of a polyatomic molecule. That is the topic of our today's discussion. Let us say that we defined the vibrational states in the previous class, and now we are going to look about the transition between these vibrational states. Suppose I just to remind you, we said, let us say that I started from a initial state psi, which is defined as, suppose this molecule has many degrees of freedom. So, I am telling that the initial state had 0 in all vibrational all normal modes. In qith normal mode, the initial state was populated at v double prime quantum number. So, this way of writing this initial wave function, it shows that 0 in all other degrees of freedom, v double prime in the ith degree of freedom. So, in this notation, the ground state of the system would have looked like this, psi 0 would have looked like 0 0. So, all coordinates are all normal modes are in their ground state, but in this case I am starting from a state where qith mode is occupying v double prime state. Suppose I am going to psi final, which is given by 0 0 0. So, this is my final state, which shows v prime as the occupation number of along the qith mode. So, the transition therefore becomes along qi mode, I am going from v double prime. So, I do not need to write this I index, v double prime to v prime, and this transition is happening only at along qi normal mode. So, there is a shorthand notation to describe this process. I simply write the normal mode number I here, and then I write down the initial state v double prime as subscript, and the final state as v prime as the superscript. Just to give you one example, consider a triatomic system with 3 degrees of freedom, triatomic nonlinear system. So, where suppose I am going from 0 0 0 to 0 0 1, I would see that I am making a transition only along q3 normal mode going from 0 to 1. So, therefore, to write this transition I will write 3, because this indicates the normal mode index. I am starting from 0 and ending at 1. If I say 0 0 0 to 2 0 0, how would I express? I see that I am exciting the molecule along q1 degree of freedom. So, therefore, degree of freedom is written here, and then initial state is 0, the final state is 2. So, along q1 mode I am going from 0th vibrational state to 2nd vibrational state. I can also have a combination of this. Suppose I go from 0 1 0 to 2 3, 1. So, in this case how would I write? I would see that in the Q1 I am going from 0 to 2, in Q2 I am going from 1 to 3, and along Q3 I am going forgive me, along Q1 I am going from 0 to 2, along Q2 I am going from 1 to 3, and along Q3 I am going from 0 to 1. So, this transition this way of notation describes this kind of transition. So, now coming back to this discussion, that we are starting from this initial state and going to this final state as given here. Now, we know already from our previous discussion, for such a transition to be visible in a spectroscopic experiment, we can check that whether it is visible or not by calculating the transition dipole moment integral. The transition dipole moment integral is simply given as psi final mu, the electric dipole moment of this molecule, psi initial. So, what it tells? This tells that I am going starting from psi initial state, reaching the psi final state, and how am I going to do this? I am going to do this through the electric dipole moment of this molecule, which is going to interact with the radiation's electromagnetic field, and that will result in this particular transition. The transition dipole moments square is proportional to the intensity in the observed experimental spectrum. So, therefore, this is an important quantity to consider. Now, we remember, if you remember, in the case of diatomic molecule, we had this electric dipole moment. We say that it is not enough to know the dipole moment of this molecule at its equilibrium geometry, because we are studying vibrational spectroscopy where the molecule is undergoing vibration. That means bonds are constantly changing. So, we must also know how this dipole moment of the molecule is going to change with respect to this vibration. So, therefore, we are going to do a Taylor series expansion of this mu along all the vibrational modes. So, the mu is called mu 0, which is the equilibrium dipole moment, the dipole moment of the molecule at equilibrium geometry, plus I have now 3 n minus 6 or 3 n minus 5 number of degrees of freedom. So, therefore, I have to check for each degree of freedom this quantity. And this is the second order term, where q I and q j's are the normal mode coordinates. So, now you see the look at the expression. The first term is a constant. The second term over here is the first derivative of the dipole moment with respect to this normal coordinate q I, and the third term is the second derivative. So, I can have a cross term, that means derivative along q I and q j, second derivative along q I and q j, or second derivative along only one mode, that is d square mu by d q I square. Now, this is how I define my dipole moment. Now, I can incorporate this dipole moment expression in this transition dipole moment expression, and then if I do this, you would see that the first term mu 0, when I put it, since it is a constant, the mu 0 will come out of this integration, and I will have psi final overlapping with psi initial, since both the initial and final states have been expressed in terms of one dimensional harmonic oscillator, many one dimensional harmonic oscillators. So, therefore, they are also going to be ortho normal to each other. So, therefore, psi initial and psi final overlap will become 0. So, I will not get any contribution when I include mu 0 in this expression. So, the first term that would give me a non-zero contribution will be this one. So, this is a constant. So, I am bringing this out of the integration. So, I have this psi final, I can write this psi final as V I prime, and then the upper q I, and then the psi initial, and similarly I will have the other terms. Now, if you remember, under harmonic approximation, under electrical harmonic approximation, we truncate this dipole moment expansion after first order. So, we do not consider the second order term, because this is often very weak, but when we consider this, we can express the overtones by the higher order terms, but at the moment we will restrict our discussion to only the first term by saying that the second order the higher order terms are going to be anyway much weaker. So, therefore, let us focus only on the first term. So, when I look at this first term, I see this integral. I see the brass side has vibrational wave functions, where all the vibrational wave functions except for q ith mode are in 0 state, and in the ket side I also see that except for q ith mode all other vibrational functions are in the 0 state. What about the operator? The operator side in the middle only depends on q I. So, therefore, I can separate q I from the rest of the degrees of freedom by doing the following. So, I write this constant. I then say, since my operator q I only depends on the ith mode, so therefore, this is one integral that I have to evaluate. The all other integrals corresponding with respect to other q modes, q1, q2 and all other modes, since they do not have any operator term. So, therefore, they are going to be simple overlap with each other, and therefore, since each of these normal solution is the eigenfunction of one harmonic oscillator problem. So, therefore, they are orthonormal and they are going to be 1. So, therefore, I can ignore all other normal modes and consider only one mode along which the transition has occurred. So, therefore, I see instead of writing this summation, I can simply write now. This should remind you of the one dimensional result that we got. Mind you, I am obtaining this result is only because I have defined my initial state and final state that are differing from each other only along q I mode. If I had simultaneous excitation along multiple modes, I would have a slightly different result. But now look at this expression. What does this tell me? This tells me that I have the transition dipole moment depends on this the first derivative of mu with respect to q I and then this term. You already have seen this V I prime and V I double prime are anyway harmonic oscillator solutions. So, we can use Hermite polynomials recursion relation and derive that in this case this integral will become 0 unless delta V is plus or minus 1. So, because of this q I would see this delta V equals plus minus 1 selection rule coming out from here. So, here also in this case also we get similar selection rule. Apart from this, there is an interesting quantity over here that we see is that this term d mu by dqi. Let us see what this tells us. Now, we saw that the transition dipole moment depended on this is the expression that we had. So, this is non-zero only when delta V equals plus minus 1, that is one selection rule. But suppose delta V equals plus or minus 1, then what? What would be the intensity of this line? Even when delta V equals plus or minus 1, if this quantity becomes 0, the intensity becomes the transition dipole moment becomes 0 and therefore, the intensity becomes 0. So, therefore, this quantity, the first derivative of the dipole moment with respect to the normal mode is very important. This must not be 0. So, the selection rule for for infrared spectroscopy is that change of the dipole moment with respect to the normal mode must not be 0. Mind you, it does not talk about whether the normal mode the dipole moment at the equilibrium geometry is 0 or non-zero. So, this tells that in some cases even when there is no net dipole moment in the molecule is having mu equals 0 at its equilibrium geometry, then also we may have a infrared active mode Qi only when that particular Q distortion or that particular vibration is introducing a change in dipole moment. Let us take one example. Consider carbon dioxide. It is a linear molecule. At equilibrium geometry, both the bond distances are equal. So, therefore, dipole moment is 0. Now, suppose I stretch the two carbon oxygen bonds. So, I have now very long bonds, but R2s, but both the bonds are still the same. So, when I carry out this particular vibration, I see that in this case also mu is 0, and so therefore, d mu, the change of dipole moment with respect to call this normal coordinate as q1 is also 0. So, therefore, this kind of vibration will not observe infrared radiation and show any transition. So, this mode is IR inactive. But suppose I construct one particular vibrational frequency vibrational mode where one of these bonds shrinks, the other one stretches. Suppose I call it R3 and R4. Now, when this kind of situation occurs, I see that because of these unequal bonds on either side, this conformation will develop a dipole moment. So, therefore, mu is not going to be 0. Compared to the equilibrium geometry, if I move along, suppose I call this mode as q2, I would see that d mu by dq2 is not equal to 0, because initially mu was 0 and now at equilibrium mu was 0, now it is not equal to 0. So, therefore, this kind of motion is going to absorb IR radiation, and we call that mode as IR active mode. So, it does not matter even when the molecule itself does not have dipole moment at its ground state, still a particular vibrational motion can introduce change in dipole moment, and then that mode will become infrared active. To become infrared active, that degree of freedom will become infrared active, which will induce a change in dipole moment in the molecule, because the dipole moment change in the molecule leads the molecule to interact with the electromagnetic field of the radiation, and then the transition occurs. So, this is one important discussion. Just to compare it with the diatomic system, if you remember, in case of diatomic molecule OO, or for example oxygen, so I have only one degree of freedom. If the total dipole moment is 0, mu is 0. So, since I have got only one degree of freedom, whether I shrink or I stretch, the dipole moment is going to be 0. So, therefore, for diatomic molecules, having net dipole moment non-zero becomes an essential condition, but for polyatomic molecules it is not. For example, carbon dioxide can be infrared active, but only in certain degrees of freedom, not in all degrees of freedom. All right. So, now we see that these normal modes of a molecule is very useful to understand whether a particular molecule will show infrared activity or not. In case of carbon dioxide, we just did by one intuitive demonstration, and we say that a particular mode will be infrared active and another mode will not be infrared active. But how to do that in a systematic way, in a general way, this is what we are going to discuss. And to do that, we would consider water molecule, one of the simplest polyatomic molecules that we can consider here. And then we see that how we have information about normal modes vibration, and on top of it we would use symmetry argument to carry forward our discussion. Now, if you look at this water molecules normal modes of vibration, I say, as I mentioned in my previous class, that for small systems it is one can actually obtain the normal modes analytically, but for larger molecules it becomes very tedious, but computationally it is easy to calculate these normal modes of vibrations even for molecules as large as a protein with several thousand of atoms. Now, let us look at the normal modes of vibration for water molecules. These are the 3 normal modes of vibration for water molecules. As you know, water molecule has 3 atoms, so therefore 3 degrees of freedom. So, let us call these normal modes as Q1, Q2 and Q3 as we have done before. And this is a typical way of representing a normal mode. What do you see here? You see that this is oxygen and these are 2 blue color balls are shown, hydrogens are shown by blue color balls. So, you see in this normal mode the 2 hydrogens are going away from oxygen. So, remember these normal coordinates are going to, are expressed as linear combination of internal coordinates. Now, look at this picture and think which internal coordinates are involved in defining this normal mode Q1. You will see what are the internal coordinates for a water molecule. Of course, you have 2 bond distances and 1 bond angle. So, in this case you see the 2 bond distances OH bonds are changing. So, therefore, Q1 the normal mode bond is a linear combination of 2 internal coordinates that are 2 bond distances. When you look at the second mode, what do you see? The 2 hydrogens come close to each other and the result of that will be the change in the bond angle. So, you see that Q2 normal mode is predominantly defined by the internal coordinate of the bond angle. Look at Q3. Q3 involves 1 hydrogen going closer to oxygen while simultaneously the other hydrogen goes away from the oxygen. So, therefore, the 2 internal degrees of freedom that are involved in defining Q3 are the 2 OH bond distances, but mind you look at how the internal the linear combination is done. In Q1 both hydrogens were going away from each other. So, there was a positive linear combination and both of them were going away equally. And in the second case, although both of them are moving, both hydrogens are moving to equal extent, one is going closer, the other is going farther from the oxygen atom. So, therefore, this is a negative linear combination of the 2 internal degrees of freedom. So, now if you look at this, so there are certain spectroscopic ways to represent this vibrational modes. For example, this Q1 is known as symmetric stretching because it shows stretching and it is symmetric, both hydrogens are going away. The second one is called a bending mode because you see the bond angle is changing. The third one is asymmetric stretching because you see one bond is shrinking while the other bond is getting elongated. Now, to carry out further discussion on vibrational spectroscopy, we would now take help of one important property, that is molecular symmetry. Many molecules that we deal with have some symmetry. Of course, many molecules have no symmetry whatsoever, but when we have symmetry in a molecule, we normally use this the concept of group theory to derive many useful observations. Group theory by itself is a separate course. I am aware that some of you may already be familiar with the group theory and some of you may not be. I would try to give you a brief idea about group theory, in particular what we would require for our discussion, but of course, for more information you would have to refer to a group theory class or a formal introduction to group theory, then you can appreciate these things better. Just to make a long story short, each molecule based on the symmetry elements present in them, we can assign a point group to this molecule. For example, water molecule belongs to this C2p point group, and in a C2p point group we have many symmetry elements. As you can see, the symmetry elements are written in the, so this is a typical character table. So, there are several symmetry elements present here, E, C2, sigma V, sigma V along 2 different planes, and then we see that there are symmetry labels A1, A2, B1, B2, and these numbers that you see here, these numbers represent what will happen to the molecule when we carry out this particular symmetry operation. We will take one example. For suppose we start from this Waters equilibrium geometry and do a symmetric stretching. By symmetric stretching, of course, I mean that I increase the two bond lengths without changing the bond angle. So, this is symmetric stretching. I do this bending along Q2 mode. So, what I do is that I try to okay, this does not look like the bond distance has increased, but imagine that assume that the bond lengths are same. What I wanted to do is that I just wanted to increase the bond angle, and the third is along asymmetric stretch, where I keep one hydrogen close, another hydrogen far away. So, this is the result of 3 vibrational degrees of freedom starting from the equilibrium geometry. Now, let us look at this structure because of symmetric stretching. When I do this symmetric stretching, I would take this molecule and do one operation. First symmetry element is E is its identity. So, its result gives me the same. So, same hydrogen, each atom is at its own place. So, I am getting the outcome of this symmetry operation as 1. Now, let us do C2 operation. What do I mean by C2 operation? C2 operation is simply rotation of this molecule by 180 degree and then seeing whether this molecule, you can distinguish this new molecule or not. When I rotate this molecule along the way I have written by 180 degree, you would see that this hydrogen atom will appear here and this hydrogen atom will appear here. At the end of this symmetry operation, you will not be able to distinguish the two structures. So, therefore, this is indistinguishable. So, therefore, it is symmetric. So, this also becomes 1. The action of C2 becomes 1. Now, let us look at sigma V. What does sigma V? Sigma V is simply a plane, a reflection along the plane of xy. Suppose we consider this molecule to be along yz plane. So, therefore, the xy plane will be the plane perpendicular to the plane of this paper. When you make a reflection along the plane perpendicular to this paper, you would see that this hydrogen atom in the left side will be reflected to its right hand side partner and the right hand side will be reflected to the left hand side partner. So, after the symmetry operation, you will not be able to distinguish the two molecules. So, therefore, the result of this operation is indistinguishable. So, therefore, it is 1 and they are symmetric. What about sigma V yz? Yz is the plane of the molecule where I have drawn this molecule. So, when I take a reflection on the plane of this molecule, of course, I cannot distinguish the result because the molecule is planar. So, therefore, these are all 1. So, since all are 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So, therefore, this particular mode represents A1 symmetry and for normal mode we just call it small a1. So, this symmetric stretching mode is given by A1 normal mode. You would please carry out the same operation for this conformation and you would find out this also is totally symmetric or A1 mode. Now, just we will do this for this molecule, this conformation over here. E would give me 1 because it is identity operator. C2 is C2 rotation along this axis. So, when you see when I make a rotation, this hydrogen will come to this side, this hydrogen will go to this side, I will immediately recognize that the molecule has changed its place. So, therefore, this is not symmetric, I am making -1. So, sigma V x y, that is the plane perpendicular to the plane of this paper. So, when I do this, you would see I would be able to recognize because this hydrogen will be reflected to the right hand side, the right hand side hydrogen will be reflected to the left hand side. So, therefore, I will immediately recognize that. So, this is distinguishable. So, therefore, -1. Now, final sigma V yz, since this is the plane of the molecule, when I make a reflection along the plane, the molecule is planar. So, therefore, I will not be able to distinguish the result. So, therefore, this is +1. Now, I look at 1 -1 -1 1, I would see 1 -1 -1 1 and this represents the B2. So, therefore, this symmetry operation showed B2 character and we give identity of B2 to this asymmetric stretching mode. And you would do this as a homework for bending mode and you would see that this would correspond to A1 mode. So, in this lecture we discussed about the normal modes in polyatomic system and their symmetry properties. We will continue our discussion in the next class. Thank you for your attention.